cloud. That's going to be great.
Awesome. Yes.
Okay, and I'll now make you, let me find you again. Second. Okay. Make you the host. All right, fantastic. So I'm going to go into the state and bring Ryok through, and we'll go for 2 hours. We'll be going for a whole 2 hours. So I hope you all have a great time. I really like doing these sessions, and I really appreciate your presence at them. It allows for us to continue to do these events, and I find them very enriching, and I know a lot of people here do. So thank you for helping to make this possibility a reality. So I'll see you at the end. Have a fantastic time. Oh yeah, Ira, before we get started, can you make sure everyone's muted? I think we had someone just come in who's not muted on an iPad. Thanks.
Okay. Check.
Appreciate it. It is our species' highest joy and passion to be able to interact with all of you in this unique way through the channel. Today's transmission, titled Plants and Possibilities, will allow for all of you to more deeply explore into the energetic dimensions that are overlaid upon your physical dimension of experience. Understand what you consider to be your plants, your plant teachers, your trees, your cacti, your fungal beings, your flowers, all act as bridges, all act as conduits, in a sense, assisting your species in being able to more easily, more lucidly experience a connection between your physical reality and the non-physical realities. We will begin to break down now the idea of the structure of the plants and how this bridge dynamic is entangled with the structure of the plants. For this dynamic, this bridging dynamic, is also something that all of you do unconsciously, for the most part, that the plants are assisting you in becoming more conscious of. So understand, you have the idea of the plant with its roots penetrating into the earth, representing the plant's connection to what you might call the lower realms, what you might call the dimensions that are actually denser in nature than your physical reality experience. You have, of course, the idea of the body of the plant, what you might consider to be the trunk of a tree or the stem of a flower. And this relates to the idea of the plant's connection to what you might consider to be the middle world, what you might consider to be your physical reality, the realm of humanity. And then, of course, you have the upper portions of the plant. In the case of the flower, the actual flower itself. In the case of a tree, you have the idea of the canopy and the branches that extend upwardly. And this relates to the plant's connection to what you call the upper world, the cosmic realms, the higher dimensional realities. And plants absorb the energies from above and the energies from below, and they mix them on that middle level, the level that relates to your physical reality experience. So their extensions in the upper worlds, their extensions in the lower worlds allow for them to gather energies, resonate with these higher and lower frequencies, and then in the center world, in the center of their bodies, these forces are gathered and are blended, and these energies that are then gathered and blended by the plants are then projected outwardly through the electromagnetic field of the plant. And this projected energy, you might call it the aura of the plant, then informs your species' collective consciousness, the collective consciousness of the animal kind on your planet, in a way that enables your collective consensus reality to be stabilized. In other words, issues within your collective consensus reality occur when there are deficiencies of plants. Because, as we have said, these higher and lower energies are mixed in that middle plane, in that middle world, in the body of the plant, and then that alchemically blended energy is projected outwardly as a sort of stabilization, balancing frequency by the plant. And then this allows for a field of stability and balance and love to wrap your planet. And this allows for your species to experience the idea of states of clarity, states of emotional balance, mental balance, physical balance, spiritual balance. It also allows for the middle realm, what you consider to be your physical reality realm, to also experience more naturalistic expressions of elemental balance, because as you know, if a certain element gets out of balance, you can experience that as a disharmonious weather pattern. For example, too much water can yield the idea of excessive rains. Too much fire can yield the idea of wildfires or droughts, for example. So these energies that the plants project stabilize not just your species' collective consciousness, not just the collective consciousness of the animal kind, but also the elemental consciousness of your very planet. It is for this reason that your plants are very, very, very important, not just for the idea of oxygen production, but also for the idea of energy balance and stabilization. Now, as we have said, you are all doing the same thing, although many of you are unconscious of this. For you have the idea of your crown chakra, your third eye, the energy centers that correspond with the skull. And these centers allow for you to connect to what we have called the upper world, the extra-dimensional realities, the idea of the cosmic frequencies, all reach you, all access you through these different areas. You have, of course, the idea of your sacrum, your tailbone, your feet, your knees, your pelvic floor. These areas, these lower areas, are like the trunks of the tree. The energy centers that correspond with these lower areas of your body allow for you to link into those denser realities, into the realities that relate to and correspond with elemental energies and physical expressions of reality that are actually denser than what you experience on your surface reality level. And when you breathe, when you allow for your breath to be diaphragmatic, your belly getting big on the exhale, small, rather big on the inhale, small on the exhale, this diaphragmatic breathing allows for these centers to become active in a way that suctions these energies into the diaphragm and into the low abdomen. So when you are breathing naturally, when you are in a relaxed state, when you are in a state of love, your breath is naturally diaphragmatic. And the more aware of the diaphragm you become, the more aware of the low abdomen, expanding and contracting with the breath you become, the more you are able to suction these higher and lower frequencies and mix them in your center. So you can begin to express and operate in a way that is similar to how the plants express and operate. This is of great importance, for when you are breathing in such a way and living in such a way that allows for your breath to be one of your primary focuses, it allows for you to go into resonance with, again, that bridge dynamic that the trees and the plants and the cacti and the fungi all experience. In other words, it allows for you to do a similar job, to play a similar role. And then your energy begins to project the idea of those frequencies of balance, of those frequencies of stability. And this can have some profound effects in your local reality. Understand that this can allow for you, just like a plant, to project a field that allows for you to experience realities where the elemental makeup is more balanced, where people are more balanced, where animal populations are more balanced. And it can also allow for you to experience the idea of versions of Earth where there are greater levels of plant life, greater quantities of natural areas. Because remember, you are shifting billions of times per second. So as you embody these energies that mirror the energies of the plants, you can then shift to a version of Earth where there are more plants and there are more people that are also living in harmony with your Earth. Because like attracts like, what you put out is what you will get back. So when you embody those energies, which you can do just through breathing, you can then begin to experience more of those energies all around you and in the people that you come into contact with. Now, in addition to simply diaphragmatically breathing, there are many other things you can do to experience a very deep connection to the plants. For as we have said, the upper dimensional qualities of creation correspond to the upper parts of the plants. The lower dimensional qualities of creation correspond to the lower parts of a plant. We will now share with you how to access information from those two levels using plants. And we will guide you all through an exercise at the end that will practically enable you to do this. The idea being that above the plant, physically, in terms of location, above the plant, there is what you might call an out-of-body energy center, like an orb of light that hovers above all plants, the smallest of flowers to the tallest of trees. And when you allow for yourself to psychically link up with this out-of-body chakra, you can then begin to read the energies of the upper world connections and correspondences that are associated with whatever plant you're interacting with. There is also an energy center, a chakra, that is out of body for the plant, that is located below its root network. And this is a center that when you psychically link up with it, can enable you to read the corresponding energies that relate to those elemental realms and those lower dimensional expressions of reality. And of course, throughout the body of the plant, you have the idea of different chakras, just as you have in your own bodies. And you can also read information about the plant if you are interested in qualities related to that middle level, that aspect of the plant that connects to your world, the human world, the physical reality. And to read that, the idea is to interact with the chakras that are located within the trunk or within the stem, so to say, within the body of the plant. Now, we have talked about the idea of plants having these correspondences. Plants correspond with certain minerals. Plants correspond with certain planets. Plants correspond with certain elements. And plants correspond with certain stars. Now, what we mean by correspondence here is the following. There is a level of resonance between a specific plant and other dimensions, other expressions within creation. So you'll find certain planets within your solar system will really connect to specific plants. Certain elements, a part of your physical reality, will really connect to certain plants. And certain stars will have connections to certain plants. So when you understand these correspondences, you can really begin to open up and access the extra dimensional qualities relevant to the plant. Because as you know, your plants can operate as herbal medicines, remedies, and this is a more physical way, oftentimes, of interacting with a plant, observing its chemical makeup and how those chemicals respond in bodies. However, when you understand these other levels of correspondence, you can then use the plant strategically to create different types of energetic changes within your own reality and within your own consciousness. In order to begin to determine the idea of these higher level correspondences, such as the correspondences to the planets, the correspondences to the stars, the idea is to first begin with the elemental correspondence. Because if you can determine the elemental correspondence, you can then determine the planetary correspondence, because there's a direct link between certain elements and certain planets. And that will then lead you to understand the stellar correspondences. So the idea is, when you're reading the energy of the plants, look first for the elemental association. Now, to read the elemental energy of a plant, the idea is to stay open when you form your energy links with the plants, which we will be guiding you through in the exercise. And from here, it's important to pay attention to the idea of the certain qualities that you perceive when you're reading the plant. Many of these qualities will be thermal in nature. And what we mean by this is, you might read the energy of a certain plant and it might feel quite hot. You might feel like you are getting hot. And it is likely then that this plant has a connection to the idea of the fire element, which in terms of planetary correspondences would likely link it to the sun. It could connect it to Mars, but as you analyze further, as you dive in deeper, you will understand more of those connections. But the elemental correspondence is how you begin to understand the other ones. So you may find you become very hot when you're reading the energy of the plant. You may find you actually get a little cold, a little chilly as you read the energy of the plant. And this may indicate that the plant has a correspondence, a connection to the water element. You might notice that when you read the energy of the plant, you find you're very balanced. You feel very centered. You don't really feel too hot. You don't really feel too cold. You feel like you are even, right in the middle. And this would indicate the plant has a connection to Earth. You might read the plant and you notice there's almost the feeling of moisture or humidity as you are reading it. And this would indicate an elemental connection to what you call the air element. So understanding these elemental correspondences are the first level. And you understand them through the idea of tactile psychic sensation. In other words, with your psychic senses, you begin to thermally detect changes in your own energy as you read the plant that will begin to reveal to you those elemental correspondences. Now, the next level that can enable you to understand the other connections is to pay attention for psychic colors. And these are likely not going to be things you see physically because you're still evolving. Some of you can see these things. However, for many of you, color information is something that's perceived internally with what you call your mind's eye, because it's easier for many of you to perceive it that way. So the idea being to pay attention to certain colors that you receive when you are working with the plant. And you may find that you get the color gold and your plant feels hot. This would indicate a planetary correspondence with the idea of the sun. You may find the plant feels hot and you see the color red. This would then indicate more so a planetary correspondence with Mars. So when you understand the elemental quality, when you feel that, the idea is then to allow for yourself to stay open to receive the color correspondence. And that will give you even more context, even more clarity, so you can really create a map for the plant. You can understand very holistically all of the different realms and dimensions that the plant connects you with. So this particular exercise will assist you in honing your psychic perception, honing your psychic skills so you can begin to feel energy in a very deep way. It will assist you in also opening up what you call your clairvoyance, your ability to see subtle energies through receiving color. Now understand, the interactions with plants on the psychic levels are not limited to just this. This is just a matter of getting to know the plant, understanding its correspondences. Those energy centers that we mentioned, the ones that are out of body, above and below the plant, in addition to being, let's just say, anchors and links that connect the plant to the higher and lower realms, these out-of-body centers are also doorways. They are also portals. So you can send your consciousness through them. You can use the plant itself as a portal for what you call astral projection. And the idea is, sitting in front of the plant, imagine you are able to get up out of your body. Just imagine you're not trying to force yourself out of your body. You're not trying to launch yourself. The idea is, while you are totally relaxed, use your imagination and just create the sensation of standing up or moving one limb at a time without physically moving them. Just imagine what it would feel like to move your arms, to move your legs, to move your head, to move your spine. And when it feels like you can imagine moving your whole body, what that would feel like, simply imagine that you're able to move out of the body. Turn and look at your physical body, because that will reinforce the astral state, seeing yourself out of yourself. And then simply imagine or see the above out-of-body chakra of the plant you're working with, or the below one. And you can send your consciousness through. And you will find that the out-of-body chakra that is more upward in nature will link you to those cosmic connections, those planetary stellar worlds. You can actually travel there. That's one of the uses in understanding the correspondences. You'll understand more of where you're going. And the same can be said for the lower out-of-body chakra, because that will connect you to the elemental realms. And again, when you understand the elemental connection, you'll have more context so you know where you're going. So it doesn't feel like you're venturing into the dark. You'll understand, oh, I'm going to the realm of fire. Oh, okay. That means I can also go to the worlds that connect to the spheres, so to say, the planet of Mars, and higher octaves of spiritual fire energy. So when you understand these correspondences, you will then understand more clearly how to use the plants to travel, how to use the plants to journey. Now, as we had said earlier, plants are also bridges, not just for the idea of planetary and stellar frequencies, not just for the idea of elemental energies, but they are also bridges for the hybrids. The hybrid children connect more so to that upper out-of-body chakra. And you will find that certain hybrid children will pick certain plants to represent them. For as we have said, the plants are broadcasting this stabilization energy. They are broadcasting these frequencies that assist you all in creating a more preferential version of your consensus reality. So different hybrid children, in order to prepare your consensus reality for their presence physically on the earth, infuse their energy through that upper chakra in a way that then allows for their energy to become a part of the plant, so their frequencies are then also projected into your consensus reality through the plant. Now, not all plants have direct correspondences with hybrid children, but many of them do. We'll give you a hint. Most of your medical plants, most of the plants that you use for physical and spiritual healing and wellness, have a strong connection to hybrid children. And the hybrid children oftentimes will take the names of the plants that they link themselves with. So if you are interested in connecting, communing with the hybrid child through working with the plant, the idea is to work with that upper out-of-body chakra, and that can allow for you to begin to make contact again with those higher frequency realms, the planetary realms, the stellar realms, and those higher realms directly relate to extraterrestrial beings. Those are the levels, the spheres of consciousness that we operate. So you can access the hybrid children from you. The final thing we'll say about this, working with these upper and lower spheres, is that you can work with the spheres and access energy without having to actually astrally journey into them. For some of you, if that's not your preference, you're not really excited to astrally journey through these out-of-body chakras, you don't have to in order to work with the corresponding realities. We will show you in the exercise how to psychically link with these centers so you can begin to receive and perceive information related to the correspondences without having to actually astrally travel into them. But understand, if you are excited to astral travel, you can do this. You can do this with a physical plant that is in front of you, perhaps in your garden or in the forest, and you can do it with a psychic plant, the idea of simply conceptualizing a plant astrally in front of you. We will practice today in our exercise working with an astral plant. We will show you how to give rise to one in your consciousness, how to solidify it, and then how to work with these centers that correspond with the upper and lower dimensions. The last thing we'll talk about in relationship to understanding plants is calculating the idea of the masculine and feminine dimensions to a plant. Now understand, just like you, plants are both simultaneously masculine and feminine beings. However, one of those qualities will exist in a plant oftentimes in greater proportions than the other quality. And as such, you can actually visibly perceive this. You can visibly detect this. Because as you know, you can have a very masculine and fiery type of plant. You can also have a very feminine and fiery type of plant. So understanding the masculine, feminine quality of a specific plant will, again, really assist you in understanding the unique qualities of that specific teacher, that specific being. Just like you're in a relationship with a person and you get to learn new things about them, and it grows your connection, it evolves your connection. It's the same with these plants. The more you read them, the more you study them, the more you play with them, the stronger your link with them will get. And the more you interact with their energy and journey with them, again, the stronger the link will get. And this will slowly assist you all in perceiving yourselves as literal extensions of the earth. You will become so resonant with them over time. You will recognize that you too are the forest. You too are the jungle. You too are the mountains, the rivers, the volcanoes, the deserts. You are all of these things. It's just that you're a unique extension that gets to physically move with your anatomy. But you are these things, literally. And the plants will assist you in directly experiencing that connection over time. So to calculate the idea of the masculine or feminine energetic presence within a plant, the idea is to simply count the number of veins that are present on a leaf. So the idea is simply gather a leaf from a specific plant that you wish to work with, and you'll notice the midline of the leaf, which connects the base to the tip of the leaf, that center line. And off of this line, you will notice horizontal divergent lines. These are the veins. The idea is to count the number of veins that are on the leaf. Generally speaking, if there is an odd number of veins, the plant is more masculine in nature. If there are an even number of veins, the plant is more feminine in nature. This understanding of even and odd, masculine and feminine, can also be expanded into the idea of your numbers. So for those of you who study numerology and calculate things like your life path, you can also understand the energetic polarity in greater ways of your life path by determining if that life path number is even or odd. So understanding that can assist you in understanding more of yourselves, as well as those qualities of masculine and feminine, because those qualities transcend what you consider to be gender altogether. They represent primordial energies, what you call Shiva Shakti, yin and yang, and your plants also reflect this back to you. We thank you for your attention in this opening transmission. We are so excited to lead you all through this exercise. We detect it will be very expansive for many of you. And you may find, if you really enjoy it, it can easily become for you a daily practice, a daily game, a daily ritual that you explore with your plant friends. And you can work with different plants. You don't have to stick with the same ones. And you'll find when you work with them in these ways, a relationship, a bond will be formed. And you'll begin to see them in a way that transcends materialism. You will begin to see them as beings. And they will share with you their intelligence, their wisdom, and their truth. We now make ourselves available to each of you for your questions and ideas. Please begin.
Hello, Ryok. Thank you so much for that transmission. How are you?
You are so welcome. It is our joy to share what we share with you.
We're gonna start with Leonila. You can unmute yourself and ask your question.
Oh, hi.
Greetings.
Thank you, Ryok.
Yes, you
Every
are so welcome. It is our joy to share this information with you.
you teach is gold. I appreciate it.
Yes. One moment, just check the integrity of your signal. Your voice is coming in a little choppy.
Yeah. It's a little better now.
Yes, yes, we can hear you.
No.
Thank you.
Okay. There's some videos that I've seen lately of some leaves moving by themselves, not the whole tree. The whole tree, all the leaves are perfectly still, and there's like a group of 2 or 3 leaves that moves back and forth like they were waving. And this reminds me of some things that I have experienced myself at home. Of I have a butterfly.
One moment. Your signal is cutting out again. One moment.
Decorating a plant. That, let me see if I'll move. Let me see.
Oh,
Okay. Am I better now?
yes, yes, please.
Okay.
Please.
Okay. So anyway, I had those experiences of things moving by themselves on me, and I'm wondering, I don't see energies of the earth that are coming through in that way, that are making certain parts of the plant move and not others. I've also noticed little bugs that kind of fly in a little swirl, and that little swirl kind of disappears, and then another little swirl appears coming from the bottom up of the earth.
All right.
Oh, let's see. Were you able to get that?
Yes, yes, we could understand. You're detecting the
okay.
idea of earth energies pulsing into what we have called this middle world, the world you're able to see, the physical world. So you notice this with spiraling insects, and you're noticing this with certain groupings of leaves.
Okay. And the ones that I've noticed inside my home also, the other day, it was in the bathroom basin. There was the water puddles a little bit in the sink, and it was shaking by itself. So I immediately thought, well, something is leaking into it. But I went all the way around it with a paper towel. Nothing. There was nothing wet. I went underneath, which would have been weird, water coming from the bottom up, would have been a disaster, but everything was dry there. But the water kept shaking and shaking and shaking. And so I'm wondering what was making that water shake. Even the other basin next to it, I opened the water there, see if it was doing the same thing. There was no earthquake, nothing was moving. And I finally dried it up and see if I put more water into it, if it kept doing the same, but it didn't. It was just at that moment. And so what is causing all this moving of things?
Well, the idea is, of course, that subtle vibration is what is responsible for all of these phenomena. Now, the origin and source of the vibration at times can be physical in nature. However, in many cases, the origin and source is non-physical. What we mean by this, especially with water, because of its geometry, its molecular geometry, energy gateways can be opened that allow for there to be, you could say, links between water and other realities, other dimensions. So, because of those links and gateways, subtle energies can travel, so to say, or shift vibrationally from other realities into the waters of your physical world. And if the energy is amplified enough, it can actually create a visible, physical, vibratory effect. And when you experience something like this happening, that can act as a permission slip for you to then dive in and explore the idea of the energy link. Because as we have said, in the structure of the water, oftentimes portals will be opened. That's a literal thing. So, using your psychic perception, you can again send your consciousness into the portal within the water, thus enabling you to explore the link. You can follow the link, and you can reveal to yourself the other world, the other dimension, the other reality that the link is connecting to. And it's likely you'll find there are beings there whom are actually using the water to get your attention. They're inviting you to look beneath the surface, quite literally. Does that make sense?
Yes, so when something like that happens again to me, so more like going to a meditative right at that spot, in front of what's going on, or should I sit somewhere else and that will be fine and do my meditation?
You can sit somewhere else, yes. And then again, with your imagination, simply recall what you saw in front of you, like you're physically there, but it's just with your imagination, and you can then interact with it in the same way. If you're comfortable doing it in that space, meditating in that space, then you can do it there. We understand for some of you, this may occur in spaces like bathrooms, and that may not be the most comfortable space to meditate in. So you don't have to physically be there, but if you feel comfortable with it, you absolutely can. And you may find physically being there opens up the connection even more.
Great. Thank you so much, Ryok. I really
Yes.
appreciate you.
And we appreciate you as well. Thank you for your sharing this day.
Thank you. My love to you.
My
Bye.
love to you as well.
Next in line is Arthur. You can unmute yourself and ask your question, please.
Yes, thank you. Hello, Ryok.
Greetings. How are you this day?
Very good, thank you. I wanted to ask you, could you help me understand better my connection to the Arcturians, to the Pleiadians, and to Sirius?
All right. Well, which one would you like to explore first?
Arcturians.
All right. Well, you're aware of the gate?
Yeah.
Yes. Understand, you are connected to children whom have utilized this gate. We mean physical children that have utilized this gate. And understand that the children who pass through this particular gate are able to embody the idea of the Arcturian energies in very, 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 very deep ways. So one of your primary connections to the idea of the Arcturus energy actually comes from proximity to children whom have passed through it. And due to the idea of certain sensitivities that are present within your consciousness, you're oftentimes able to see matters that are, let's just say, veiled, that the children are energetically sharing through contact with you. In other words, when you interact with children, different types of spiritual messages, different types of insights, facets of intuition, realizations are able to be experienced. And in that sense, beings of Arcturus in this incarnation have chosen to physically teach you through children and your relationship with them.
Thank you.
Yes, yes. And the next one you'd like to explore?
Sirius.
All right. This represents primarily what you would call counterpart relationship dynamics. In other words, you have both, linearly speaking, past lives and future lives connected to that system. So you are, in a sense, assisting yourself in accelerating, let's just say, in an evolutionary way through working with the past selves whom are simultaneously evolving alongside with you. You are also, in a sense, pulling yourself forward towards the idea of your preferred future through interacting with counterparts related to Sirius that you would call more future-based selves. So, in a sense, you're evolving yourself from both ends. You're drawing upon both momentums. You have one momentum pushing you forward. You have one momentum pulling you forward. So that's the primary relationship with Sirius. There are other connections that are related to direct interactions, what you would understand to be versions of yourself, extensions of your oversoul that are related to Atlantis, that are related to Egypt, that have had physical interactions with beings of Sirius, and those interactions ripple into your experience of the here and now. That enables you to understand more comprehensively some of the themes that were being explored during those times.
Is Hugh one of my future incarnations from Sirius?
Yes, yes. Use this term. Absolutely. There's a reason you have the term.
Thank you.
Yes.
and Pleiades?
The Pleiades represents in many ways teacher energies. In other words, these beings are assisting you in understanding things like frequency and understanding things like vibration and how these things can blend with music in particular. The Pleiadian people are very musical in nature. They use their vibration to create sounds and symphonies that translate as entire worlds, entire realities, entire multidimensional experiences. And some of your inspirations, some of your ideas related to your own innovations and explorations are connected to what you would consider to be frequencies and vibrations that are very similar to music that come from the Pleiadian people.
Thank you, Ryok. I love you.
And we love you as well. We thank you for these exciting questions.
Next in line is Jacqueline. You can unmute yourself and ask.
Hello, Ryok.
Greetings. How are you?
Wonderful. Thank you, and you.
We are ecstatic and delighted to be able to have this particular co-creative interaction this day.
Thank you. Please, can you tell me more about the light language I'm currently channeling, which I feel is Mantis being energy, and also my connection with Mantis beings as I'm feeling their energy very strongly?
Please repeat the very beginning of your question for us.
All right. Can you tell me more about the light language I'm channeling, which I feel is Mantis being energy?
All right, there is a connection here. It's not limited to them, but that is a large connection. There are certain dimensions of this that are related to the beings you call the Fae. Are you familiar with this idea? The Fae?
A little bit, not too much.
They translate as fairies. And oftentimes, these beings will project themselves in ways that make them appear as if they are other types of beings. They shapeshift. You understand?
Yes.
So some of these light language transmissions and energies you're bringing through are related to Mantis beings. However, some of them, as we're reading into it, are connected to Fae. In other words, there are certain Fae that are drawn to you, and in order to make themselves understandable, translatable, relatable at all, because they look like just energy, they will sometimes assume the form of the Mantis beings because they understand you're familiar with that energy. They understand you have a connection there. So we are detecting there's a bit of a blend happening here, a little bit of both.
I see, because the channeling doesn't come out in words, it's mainly clicking sounds.
Yes, yes, absolutely. This is another, you could say, indication that you are interacting with other beings. And the clicking in many ways represents a vibrational tuning that's taking place within your body. At a certain point, you will become tuned like an instrument. And when you are at that point, when you feel like you are tuned, which you'll feel in yourself, you'll feel in alignment, you can then begin to move into channeling with words if you wish. But this clicking is an initiatory phase designed to acclimate you to these energies. The fairies, even though they are very extra dimensional, are in many ways linked to your physical reality. So they are also assisting you in grounding in some of these extraterrestrial energies, because they can get very cosmic in nature, very otherworldly in nature. So even though the Fae themselves are quite otherworldly, they're assisting you in anchoring that a little bit more in a way that you can translate. So if you wish, you can then move into the idea of vocal channeling with words that are discernible rather than just sound. But it's up to you. You can explore it in whatever way you prefer.
Just to expand on that, do the Fae and Mantis beings and hybrids also work together with the energies?
There is a connection, yes, absolutely. Because the Fae understand the links that exist between the hybrids and your people. So the Fae will oftentimes use symbols that you already relate to make contact with you. They are very interested in your species, and they have been for some time. They're interested in your species primarily because of your species' evolutionary trajectory and your species' alchemical ability to transform darkness into light. They find this quite fascinating, and they have actually learned quite a bit from all of you. So the Fae, more or less, are drawn to the hybrids really as a gateway to experience a connection with all of you. However, that connection is by agreement. So there is a relationship that exists between the hybrids and the Fae. For understand, in order for the Fae to assume the form of a hybrid or a mantis being for that matter, there must be some kind of energetic resonant connection already in place. So, as we have said earlier in our transmissions, our species and the species that are a part of the hybridization program assist your planet in being very balanced, in being more positive. And that has allowed for us to form positive relationships with the beings that you call the Fae, which has also allowed for there to be teaching and sharings between our kinds. And this has allowed for the Fae to evolve in a way that is very positive and in a way that can enable all of you to interact with them with greater ease and clarity. So there is a connection.
Which I assume we can do through the plants with the information you've just given us.
Yes, absolutely. You can use the plants to access the realms of the Fae if you wish. That would correspond with the idea of the lower out-of-body chakra. Absolutely.
Thank you very much.
Yes, you
Much
are very welcome.
appreciated.
Next in line is Brent Harpy. You can unmute yourself and ask your question.
Thank you so much, everyone, for being here. My friend, it is so wonderful to be back in your energy. So much love and appreciation here for you.
Yes, and our love and appreciation to you as well.
Could I please have a offering and a plant suggestion from you of where I am on my journey? I've been applying the principles that you shared with me, and I am watching myself do it. I had my son appear in my room. We touched fingers. I had 3 zetas. They were as tall as a door frame. But since then, I feel like I've plateaued a little. My headphones did pop, and I was face to face with one. And I was at a party and I was sharing about my connections, and I saw my reality shift where a boy came up to me and he was sharing he was part of the program. Like he was waking up in bed and having portals appear in his wall. And I see my reality changing, but I feel like it's kind of plateaued.
Well, it might feel like it's plateauing, but the idea is you're learning to stabilize these frequencies, because the point of having these very powerful extra dimensional experiences is so you don't forget them. So as you go throughout your physical life, you understand what's happening behind the scenes. So you don't take the physical life so seriously. So you can understand more of the bigger picture. So these experiences that ultimately elevate you and open you up are meant to be integrated practically, so you can then explore your life in a grounded way, in a way where these experiences serve you as a reminder and as a tool. So even though it may seem as if things have plateaued, really what you're experiencing are things stabilizing and centering, so you can walk your path knowing more about what's taking place behind the scenes. So we would encourage you, don't define it as a plateau or a limitation or a block. Define it, if you wish, as an opportunity to integrate these experiences into your life so they can act as forms of inspiration and guidance as you move forward.
Okay, because if it were to happen at a faster speed, I would not be able to acclimate to the energy to ground them into my reality.
Precisely, yes, it could
Okay.
overwhelm you and it could be uncomfortable. So
Okay.
these beings are aware of this. They're aware of your limit and they don't want to push you past it. So this is a part of the relationship. And you'll find as you ground these energies and apply them, your ability to handle more will then increase. So it will then open the door for more types of experiences that are of an extra dimensional quality. But as you can see, you are attracting others. that's a sign you're beginning to apply the energy, because now it's showing up in your reality as interactions with other people. So understand that's not necessarily a plateau. That's a sign you're actually beginning to integrate it a bit, because now it's beginning to show up physically in other ways.
And I love what you shared with all of us, because I see how plants are like the embodiment of us fully realized humans. Like they're fully open to the above, they're fully open to the below, they're fully centered and growing and expanding from their present point of the now. If I could please have an offering of a plant to grow and assist me on my journey, please.
Lavender would be our suggestion.
Thank you.
It is relatively easy to grow. You will find not only does it relax you and ground you, but it will continue to open the inner perceptions in a way that is guided by the intelligence of the plant kingdom.
Thank you, my friend. So much love and appreciation here for you.
Yes, our unconditional love to you as well. We thank you for your sharings with us this day.
Thank you.
Next in line is Kim Trin. Please unmute yourself and you can ask your question.
Hi, Ryok.
Greetings, how are you this day?
I'm so excited as always to talk to you.
I'm so excited to talk to you as well.
Yesterday I was in an ayahuasca ceremony and I felt there was this being that came and placed something in my heart and it said that it would be activated over time. Can you say who was this being and what was it that was placed in my heart?
It has to do with the idea of a frequency seed. Understand just how your plants come from seeds. The seed level of the plant contains programs and information that is related to the entire life of the plant that will grow out of it. In this way, an energy seed has been planted within your heart that responds to vibration. It responds to energy. So the idea is, just as a seed needs the proper conditions to germinate, such as water, sunlight, minerals, frequency, the energy seed in the heart is the exact same. The nurturing that you give to yourself, the love that you give to yourself, acts as a type of stimuli that begins to awaken the energetic programs contained within this seed. And just as a plant grows and grows and grows and grows and grows up from the seed, you will find what is called the chi field or the etheric field, the electromagnetic field of your body, of your heart in particular, will then begin to grow and expand incrementally more and more and more and more and more, allowing for you to begin to enter in to very deep states of what you might call non-duality, states of oneness, where your heart can remain very open and you can interact with others in your reality as if they were truly you. That's the purpose of this. It will eventually expand your heart field in such a way where you will begin to see everything through the eyes of love. The beings associated with this are what you might call angelic beings. This was a gift. You were able to perceive the vibrational nature of the seed through your own energy, thus allowing for you to manifest the idea of this particular type of activation. So it is in your hands. And of course, we understand that you know how to use your hands for healing. So use your hands, your heart, to germinate this seed. And remember, there's no rush. As you know, everything takes place in a way that flows with the heartbeat of nature. And this energy seed is no different. So all you have to do is be yourself, nurture yourself, love yourself, and begin to share that love with those that you experience around you. And you'll find naturally the seed begins to grow and grow and grow. And it is probable it will lead you into that state of non-duality.
Okay, and another question is the ceremony before that. After the ceremony, there was a huge ball of light in the sky that looked like the moon that was descending down towards the water. But what was that in the sky?
This was craft. This was a craft. Yes, when you go into those realms, many beings pay attention. It's like on the higher levels, you're lighting off fireworks when you go into those types of spaces. So many beings whom are an energy match for the ceremony are then drawn to it and observe you. And because you're raising your frequency so high in those ceremonies, you begin to blend a little bit with their realities, which allows for what you might call a physical bleed over, where you can actually physically start to see some of these extra dimensional phenomena.
But what craft was that from?
The Pleiades.
Okay, because it was on the news actually. People filmed it, and the
Yes.
news kind of gave up this story that said it was a rescue mission, and they kind of, tried to
Yes.
say it was not anything but that.
Yes.
But they came up with a story that didn't match the reality.
Yes, exactly. You were able to see it firsthand. And of course, attempting to sweep it under the rug oftentimes can validate these experiences even more when you've seen it firsthand. So this was contact from the Pleiades. Again, you merged realities in such a way where a bleed over was possible.
Oh, that's exciting. That's great. So thank you very much.
Yes, you're very welcome.
Okay.
Next is Barbara. Please unmute yourself and ask your question.
Hello, Ryok. Thank you for the opportunity.
Yes, it is our joy and our passion to share this information. How are you this day?
I'm fine, thanks. I was thinking about plants. When I learned the English language, because it's not my real, my home, how you say it, language, I was always attractive to the word daffodil. And first it was just the sound, I just liked it. It's such a cute or sweet idea. And later on I had the same with dandelion.
Yes.
And then in that time I didn't know about anything about hybrid children and so on. But now I know, and I think, well, maybe are those hybrid children I have, the names of them?
They are hybrid children that you are connected to. Yes, you're not the only genetic donor for those children, but yes, you are connected to them genetically. Yes, that feeling you get when you think of the names is actually a feeling you're having for the being that's using the name.
Yeah. And did one of them visit me when I was 25, more or less, that age?
Yes, yes. It's not limited to just then, but yes, that was one instance.
But then I remembered that. But I didn't know what was happening, so just went on, but now I understand more. And what about the color yellow? Because they are both yellow and they are also both with the letter D. Is it something?
Yes,
special?
there is a connection here, absolutely. It corresponds primarily with the idea of energies pertinent to the sun. However, not just this, there's also a connection to energies that are associated with the frequencies of the planet you know as Jupiter. It's not the only connection, but these are two primary ones that, in a sense, group these two different planets. So those energies have to do with the idea of expansion, growth, really what you think of as positive momentum, and the idea of heart-centric activations. So those types of qualities can be explored through interacting with these types of plants. So they share similar planetary correspondences, similar elemental correspondences as well.
Aha. Okay. Well, thank you for your answer.
Yes, you are very welcome.
Thank you. Bye.
Goodbye.
Next in line is Ileana Larti. Please unmute yourself and ask your question.
Hello, everyone. Hello, Ryok.
Greetings.
My question, greetings. My question is on lucid dreams.
Right.
Okay, so very often in the lucid dream, I'm learning things and I can feel that there are guides or teachers around me, though I never see them, and they teach me to do different things within the dream. And sometimes I just wanted to know who they are. I know they're sort of teachers, but I can never see them. And I understand what they don't speak to me. I just know what they want me to do. So I practice different techniques to move in the dream, etc. So I was wondering who they are.
All right. There's a few things going on here, and we're going to limit how in depth we get into this for very specific reasons. Understand you're being invited to discover that. So the process of discovering this involves the idea of utilizing practices and techniques in your physical life that allow for you to live your physical life as if it were a dream. In other words, when you treat this reality in the same way, you'll find you create for yourself exercises, permission slips, techniques that allow for you to bring these teachers forth in a conscious way, because for the most part, they are subconscious to you. That's why you really only experience them directly when you're dreaming, because they are operating more on a subconscious level to you. So the key is to begin to bring that more to the forefront of the consciousness. And you can do that through applying those energies that you experience in the dream physically in your reality, blending those two worlds, making what is subconscious conscious, and they will begin to come through. There's a blend, we'll say this much, there's a blend of different energies working with you. Think of it as a team of different beings, a team of specialists, each equipped with different types of skill sets that are working together to assist you. Some of them are connected to the Pleiadian system. Some of them are related to what you would consider to be ascended master frequencies. There are a few other extraterrestrial energies involved, certain frequencies connected to Sirius. However, in terms of specifics, that is for you to begin to discover, but we will give you that as a starting point.
And also, Ryok, when I slip into sleep, so when in hypnagogia, sometimes I see images that are sort of like out of the ordinary, in the sense that you always see images when you're falling asleep, but sometimes they're hyper real and they seem sort of like strange, as if it weren't coming from me. They have a different quality to them. What is
These
that?
are what they call astral images. These are images that relate to perceptions that your consciousness is having already in the dream realm. Because even though linearly you might experience yourself falling asleep, because all things are here and now, there's a version of you already dreaming that you're linking up with, that you're shifting into. So you're experiencing perceptions from that self as you're falling asleep, as a side effect of you aligning with that dreaming self's energy, thus allowing for you to enter into the dream state. So you're perceiving the idea of astral experiences with more of your physical mind, because you're going into deep levels of resonance with this dreaming aspect of your consciousness.
And curiously, sometimes our gazes meet and we're both sort of like shocked, but I can see that they're shocked, like, what's she doing here? Why does that happen? It's like this.
Because normally the physical mind is dissolved when you are in those states. Imagine you're going to work and out of the blue, you bring a child with you, unannounced. People there would say, what is this child doing here? What is going on? Look at this. And it would be perhaps a big deal. The same could be said with bringing a puppy, or something that really gathers a lot of attention and surprise when it's brought into a place where it's really not expected or anticipated. It's the same kind of idea, because you're bringing your physical mind into that space, which is not something many of these beings are used to. It's immediately seen as a surprise. It's immediately seen as something different, because it allows for you to be more holistic in the dream realm, when both the physical mind and the subconscious mind work together to explore those spaces. And this is something that is normally trained in people. People normally train to be able to develop that level of proficiency. But in some of you, that's already active. but those are more rare situations. So when those things occur, many of the beings that perceive it are somewhat astonished because they're not really used to it. Does that make
Okay.
sense?
Yes, it totally does. Thank you very much.
Yes,
Thank
you're
you.
very welcome.
Up next is Min Bay. Please unmute yourself and ask your question.
Hi, everyone. Hi, Ryok.
Greetings, and how are you?
I'm doing great. So my question has to do with reality creation and creating that life that we really want for ourselves. More specifically, what the most effective, efficient, and quickest way is to create it for ourselves. So I mean, we all want pretty much the same thing, right? We want to create that paradise-filled life for ourselves and for our world. But there is that there is that time delay, right? There is that time lag of where that point where we remember, oh yeah, I really want this. I really want this for myself. I really want this for the world.
Remember, when you are defining the experience as a time lag, it is implying that while time is lagging, you're not experiencing that paradise life and its energy. And through identifying with the self that is not experiencing it, it keeps that reality further away. It extends the experience of the time lag. So the idea is not to see things as a time lag, but to see what you are calling a time lag as an opportunity to bask in the energy of that paradise reality and to act as if it is true and to not care at all what happens. And when
Right.
you're able to do
Yes.
that, you shrink what you're calling a time lag, and experiences that are akin to the paradise reality are then able to reach you.
Yes. Thank you for kind of shortening my question then. So then my question is, would the quickest way, I'm using air quotes, but would the quickest way to be then to remind ourselves, as you say, that to remind ourselves constantly, consistently throughout the day that we are connected to that other loving reality, and to notice when we are dipping, you could say falling from grace or dipping below into the stress, because, you know, when we live our life, there are triggering things, right? Whether we watch the news or whether something else in our personal life, it's brought forth. And we, in those moments, if we're feeling that discomfort and stress, we are, you know, you could say disconnecting from those loving realities we're trying to create, right? So then, okay, so what would the fastest way then be then to consistently, what would the most effective and efficient way be to constantly remind ourselves in a gentle way that we are connected to our higher selves and all the good stuff?
The most basic way is the idea of simply remaining in the moment, feeling the body, feeling the breath, noticing the idea of these natural sensations that are unconditionally a part of the moment. Because all of those things that you are calling stresses or negative experiences aren't things that are actually happening in the moment. That's the irony here. Because what happens in the moment is just sensation. It's just a sensational type of experience. But saying, oh, look at this. Oh, look at that. I can't believe this. I can't believe that. Look at that negative thing. Look at this negative thing. All of that comes from disassociation with the moment and identifying with the idea of a dimension of the mental realm that is linked up with the past. So if you're actually finding yourself going into those states, that's a sign that you're actually not rooting into the present moment. You're, in a sense, disassociating from the present moment and attaching to a psychological, mental representation of the past. And you can do the exact same thing with the future. Oftentimes in your news stories, oh, it looks like this negative thing will happen or that negative thing will happen. But if you remain rooted in the body and connected to the breath, you can notice these sensations. You might notice your energy attempting to connect to the psychological past or the psychological future, but you don't have to allow it to do so. Because every time you return to your breath and the body, you short circuit that energy dynamic of attempting to disassociate. And then as you remain in the moment and you breathe and you just let go of the escapism that oftentimes engenders disassociation and simply embrace what's happening and breathe into what's happening, you will find those things actually begin to fall away. Because when you're in the moment, when you're truly rooted to the moment, you're in a position of power. Because all of your power, what you are, is not just located in the present moment, it is the present moment. That's your life. So when you return to the here and now, the idea is you return to a position of true autonomy and power that can enable you to then choose positive states, that can enable you to follow your joy and your passion. So we would really say focus on staying centered in the moment, staying centered in the here and now, and training yourself when you start to psychologically disassociate to the past or future, say, I don't have to go down that road. I know where it leads. It's just a hamster wheel. It just takes energy. That's all. I don't have to get on that. I can use my energy wisely in a way that benefits me by staying in the here and now, by generating love in my heart, and by then choosing to act that love out in the here and now.
Thank you.
Yes, you are very welcome.
Next in line is Nathan. Please unmute yourself and ask your question.
Hi, Ryok.
Greetings, and how are you this day?
Oh, I'm so great. It's an amazing transmission. I loved your sharing.
We thank you for receiving it.
Well, I have so many questions, but I try to limit them as much as possible. First, about the musical. I'm practicing music for a while, and I'm trying to map the musical notes to chakra points or to some kind of body connection. And I'm researching it on the internet, and I see so many versions of mappings of those musical notes. And I'm wondering, is it so complicated? I mean, what's the deal
it's just
here?
different people are reading the energy differently, and they're detecting their own correspondences between the energy centers and nodes. So what we would encourage here is really experiment with yourself. You can get something like a xylophone or even a keyboard, it doesn't really matter. But the idea is to simply touch the energy centers one at a time. You can begin with the root and work your way up, and simply hit the major notes. Just hit the note, play it again and again and again, and just pay attention to what happens in your body.
Yeah.
You might find that as you move through the major notes, you begin to hit one that creates a positive, aligning sensation in the center on your body that you're touching. And that might be for you either the temporary tuning that center needs, or it may actually be the note that corresponds with the center. The idea is that if you really want to dive into this in a traditional way that relates to chakras, the idea would be to learn the mantras, the Sanskrit mantras that are associated with the chakras, and to then study the idea of music that is done in Sanskrit, because you will find certain mantras are connected, let's just say, or are sung in a way that align with particular notes. So if you begin to study the actual language that, let's just say, connects to the idea of the chakra system, you'll begin to really develop a very strong understanding of the specific note correspondences that are traditionally connected to the idea of the chakra system. Because many of the systems you've observed through your research are not traditional systems. These are intuitive things people have downloaded and created because they feel it works for them. But if you really want to get to the heart of it, the idea is to return to the, let's just say, original framework that brought to the world, so to say, that particular system.
So learn the Sanskrit mantras that relates to each chakra, and then connect them to the musical note, because
Exactly. In other words, tone one of the mantras
Mhm.
to the frequency of a specific note and see what happens.
Wow.
You'll find at a certain point, the mantra and the note will line up in such a way that you'll feel an activation in the center. And that's how you can begin to determine for yourself the chakra correspondences to music that are, let's just say, very aligned with more than just your own personal experience.
And that's the kind of next question about it, because what would be the difference between the basic, the fundamental notes and my personal musical vibrations in my body? I mean, that I can first learn those Sanskrit mantras and then relate to them in my body, or is it something that should happen together?
Well, we would encourage you, learn the mantras, and they're relatively simple. They're really just, for the most part, 3-letter tones. And the idea here is tone them to the frequency of a certain note and play with different notes and just feel for where you have that activation. Feel when the center begins to really become stimulated in a way that feels positive, in a way that feels balanced, in a way that feels healing. And you'll likely find your own personal experience lines up with a greater experience. It won't necessarily be just something that's personally connected to you and your intuition. It's connected to the idea of the foundation of that system in the first place. That's what we mean. Most of the systems people have are personal systems. They're intuitive. Someone felt something when they played the note, or they had some type of download, and that's more related to them. It can work for others that align for it, but the idea is when you're aligning with the actual nature of the foundation of that system, it's going to work for more people because it's working, it's aligning with the bigger energy that underlies the very system and has spanned across your species experience of time.
Is that what people who have what we call perfect pitch has? They have that connection between those tunes and their own personal experience?
For the most part, yes. Yes. They have energy bodies that are very much tuned to the corresponding frequencies that represent what you call health and spiritual connection. And because those things are so alive within them, they can actually translate those frequencies in a way that you call perfect pitch.
Okay. One last question about the tone structure in the body. I'm trying to understand, there is like a flow from above and from below at the same time, or is the energy going to which direction, and is it simultaneous?
It's not a fixed path of circulation. The way your body's energy circulates changes dynamically depending on your situations and circumstances. In general, the energy from above flows down, the energy from below flows up.
At the same time?
Yes. Yes, ideally, yes. When you're breathing, as we have said, diaphragmatically, that's naturally happening. You're pulling up from below, down from above, and then releasing. It's simultaneous. Because understand, when you're expanding your belly with diaphragmatic breathing, it stimulates the idea of the pelvic floor.
Right.
And the pelvic floor, when it's stimulated, is a reflexive zone for your crown, for your brain. So through diaphragmatically breathing and stimulating both the diaphragm and the pelvic floor, The idea is the crown center naturally activates. So you get a natural activation of both through that dynamic. But understand there are many other dynamics. Sometimes energy flows up your spine. Sometimes energy flows down your spine. Sometimes energy spirals around you, down the left, up the right. Sometimes it reverses direction. There's all types of different ways that your energy can move, depending on what you're doing, the nature of your situation. But the most primary way, the most consistent way that the energy moves is down from above, up from below. Now, understand there are other frequencies of energies that will move simultaneously with that in other ways. For example, you have the idea of the electromagnetic energy of your heart. You're familiar with this idea?
Yeah.
This moves like a toroidal field. It goes down, up the sides, back down, like this, just like the toroidal field of your planet. So understand, different energies can also move in different ways, and these things aren't necessarily in conflict. It's just that different systems operate differently. Does that make sense?
Yeah, totally. And I understand that the breathing is really the most basic and important way to sense it and to try to increase the flow.
Yes,
of the
absolutely.
energy.
Yes. The breathing is the most primary way.
And the diaphragmas and the lower pelvis floor
Yes.
are kind of linked to the mouth diaphragmas. I guess there is the lower diaphragma of the throat and the upper of the mouth.
Absolutely, yes, there is a connection between all of the diaphragms in the body. The primary one is the thoracic diaphragm, right below the lungs. And when this one is healthfully moving through the diaphragmatic breathing, all of the other ones move with it.
Wow, thank you very much, Ryok. That was amazing information.
You are very welcome. It is our joy to share this information with you.
Goodbye.
Goodbye for now.
Next in line is Debbie. You can unmute yourself and ask your question.
Hi, hello.
Greetings.
So lovely to see you guys.
And so lovely to speak with you in this way as well.
Thank you. I want to say I channel light language just for myself and just mainly in the forest or the garden, or sometimes I wake in the night and do it. But it has a lot of tone in it, but it also has a kind of what to me sounds like Sanskrit, Sanskrit. So I was wondering if you know where it might come from or what it's connected to. And I also have in my garden, I've planted a tree for my dad who passed. So I put it with his ashes and it died. It bloomed, it was beautiful, and it died. And I replaced it and it bloomed and it was beautiful and it died. And then I moved that to lots of lavender because I thought he would like lavender. And that's also died. And I'm wondering, with that light language, maybe if I sat there, would that help? Or is
Yes,
there another problem?
Absolutely, yes. Singing in particular to the plants can absolutely help them to grow. Light language done in a form that you translate as music or song can absolutely assist these plants. Yes, they respond to it. And we'll be getting into that in the meditational exercise, a more musical dimension to this. And if you wish, you can actually practice this then. But absolutely, the plants, as you know, respond to harmonious frequencies and sounds, and your voice is a very powerful instrument. So you can use that to project these frequencies, and it will be of service to them.
And do you know where it's from? Because it sounds a little bit Sanskrit to me at times.
It's a blend, because understand, you have a team of spirit guides, yes? And these beings that make up the team are a part of many different types of realities. They're a part of many different frequencies of dimensionality and creation. So when you are working with your channeling abilities, in particular, that team collective consciousness will take its frequency and will then use your vocal cords as an instrument to project it. So some of your guides are connected to what you call India, but not all of them. And that's why it feels as if there's, let's just say, different flavors of Sanskrit in the light language, while there are also flavors that seem like they're from other places. It's because you're processing, in a sense, a multi-dimensional orchestra of different energies that are a part of different realities and different cultures when you're doing the light language.
Ah, beautiful, beautiful. I don't suppose if I can ask if I have got any hybrid children?
You have
Or-
connections to hybrids, yes, absolutely.
Connection.
Yes,
Okay, and
genetic connection. So you can call them your children if you wish. The idea being
Okay.
is that you and others have shared DNA with the program to allow for hybrid bodies to be created. So as a genetic donor, you are connected. And in that sense, you could say they are your children because your DNA has been used to create them.
Thank you very much. Thank you. That was
You're
lovely.
very welcome.
The next question from the chat box. Were plants seeded on Earth from other planets in our galaxy?
Many were. Some are directly from the Earth, but there are some that were brought here. Absolutely. In particular, what you understand as fungal consciousness was brought here. It is extraterrestrial in nature. It was one of the first types, you could say, of plant-like beings. So we understand it's definitely a different category, but it was the first of the plant-like beings to really be brought here. And it creates the idea of an infrastructure that other plants then utilize in a way that is very balancing and stabilizing.
So it's 1:43, and we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 more people raising hands.
All right. We will continue with the questions for a little bit because the transmission did start a little late.
Okay, next in line would be Rosemary. Please unmute yourself.
Hello, Ryok. Hello, everybody.
Greetings, and how are you this day?
I'm fine, thank you. I have so many questions. I can only present one, I know. What is your understanding, your definition of consciousness? Everybody talks about it, me included. However, what is it from your point of view? And maybe is there a plant I could work with that would expand my personal consciousness?
All right. We have talked about this before. We'll share it now as well. Consciousness is a side effect of separation. And what we mean by this is you have the idea of the one which has no consciousness, no experience at all. But the one then gives rise to the two. It separates, it creates a separation effect within itself that gives rise to another. And in the creation of the other, consciousness can then be explored. Because unless there's something else to be conscious of, consciousness cannot be had. So through that separation, giving rise to the creation of the two, the other, an experience of consciousness was then able to be had. So there's many different ways to understand consciousness, but really consciousness exists as a side effect of separation and differentiation from the one. Does that make sense?
Oh, yes, perfectly. And now I even remember you having said that at some point. I somehow have forgotten it. And when we speak about expanding the consciousness, that means a decrease of separation?
In many ways, yes. It represents the idea of allowing for yourself to not only become aware of more things, but to increase the sensation within yourself of those things you're becoming aware of being you. In other words, the sense of egoic separation dissolves as you expand your consciousness. So you're aware of more, and you also begin to become aware of those things you're perceiving as being extensions of you. Feel those things as a part of yourself.
Yeah, I'm not sure I experienced that as a part of myself. I never really looked at it that way, but I can sort of tune into plants, particularly trees. So is there a particular plant or tree or
There
anyway,
are many plants that can absolutely assist you in expanding your consciousness. Not all of them because of your legislation are legal to work with, so just be mindful here. But there are many plants on your planet that can absolutely expand your consciousness. Most of the psychoactive plants are designed to do this. Not all, but the ones that you call psychedelic plants. These are the ones that are designed by nature to create this effect within you. So your species doesn't ever go into a complete forgetting of the oneness. The plants not only project that energy, but when consumed, assist you in embodying that energy. So it becomes an unforgettable dimension of yourself once more. Now, you don't have to work with psychedelic plants in order to experience the idea of that type of unification, expansive effect. There are plants you can energetically work with that and work with in all types of different ways that can assist you in similar pursuits. What you know as the rose can assist you in going into states of oneness.
The rose.
The rose, yes. The
It
rose
happens
flower.
to be in my name. My name is Rosemary.
How synchronous. This particular plant for you and for all of you can really assist you in particular in expanding the heart energy, thus allowing for you through the expansion of the heart field to feel that connection to all that is, to one another. You start to recognize that you are all technically one being. You are all one heart, and the rose can assist all of you in this type of experience.
And it's like we do this upper chakra, what shall I call it, synchronization or tuning into? Would that be a way to work with the rose?
That's one way. You can work with it in that way, but it's not the only way. You can simply breathe in the essence, the color frequency of the rose into your heart. As we have said, you can work with the upper centers, the lower centers, but also the centers that are a part of the physical structure. So it all depends on really what you're going for here. If you want to work with the idea of the actual flower aspect of the rose to bring that energy in, work with the chakra connected to that. If you are desiring to work with the more cosmic connections to it, work with the out of body one that is upper in nature. And of course, if you wish to work with the elemental connection, work with the out of body one that is lower in nature. So the idea is select the center that most directly corresponds with whatever it is you are desiring to create for yourself.
Okay, great. Thank you very much, Ryok.
Yes,
thank you.
You are very welcome.
Next in line is Deborah. Please unmute yourself and ask your question.
Hi, thank you so much.
Yes, you are so welcome.
Yes, I've always loved trees since I can remember. What is that connection? Because it's really, I'm a tree hugger type of person.
Well, what we will say is this. Different counterparts, you might consider these to be past lives, future lives that you are connected to, have had very deep relationships with trees. Because understand, in some of your ancient cultures, trees were seen as people. Quite literally. Relationships, deep relationships, very similar to what you have between yourself and other people, was had between different ancient cultures and the trees that were a part of their culture. So there were entire classes of practitioners that would work with trees, that would divine information from trees, that would access the trees in the ways we are describing here to benefit the community and the practitioner. So you are connected to other people, other selves that have had very profound, very deep relationships to trees. And you're picking up on that energy and that connection in a way that can enable you to revivify some of those things and experiences for yourself in the here and now, if you wish.
So I started practicing the way of the cryptic, and went to several months ago, went to a place that had the water. So I was facing the water and it was moving, and my back was to this beautiful pine tree, and I connected to the roots and was able to see this beautiful electronic energy of sparkles all around me. And it was an amazing experience, but I have not been able to create it since. So
you don't always need to recreate it. When these things happen, let them go completely. Don't think about them. Don't try to call them back. Let them stay where they are. Otherwise, you will spend time attempting to reanimate something that can't be reanimated because it doesn't exist in your present moment any longer. It exists in another frequency of the now, what you call the past. So it can't come back. So just let it go and let it be there, and instead go into your interactions fresh with no expectation, so you can have new experiences with the tree. But if you hold on to what has happened, even though it was quite magical, it will eventually likely turn into some type of insistence or expectation that a similar thing needs to happen, when in actuality, the plant may have something entirely different to show you. So just let it go, validate it, and say thank you for the experience, but put it away, so that way you can be fresh for new experiences that may actually be even more powerful than that initial.
And the Fae, we have, I have, of course, a tree right here. Basically, I can just about touch it from my balcony. And when it rains and I face my place faces the west, and the sun hits certain things, I start to see the energy, and I believe it's the Fae, but it might be something else. And we sort of have a little game where they play hide and seek, and they go from leaf to leaf or to a different tree. And are they the Fae, or is it something else other than that?
These beings are connected to what you call the Fae. Yes, they're a representation of them. It's one of your ways of perceiving them.
So
at times it's a mix of other types of elementals with the Fae. So it's not always just one population you're working with. It's oftentimes blended, but the Fae are a part of it.
So how can I develop more communication? I mean, it's fun to play, but is there something else that I could be doing to get a more of a grounding?
Absolutely. And that's what we're going to be leading you through in the meditation. Through interacting with these upper and lower chakras, the out-of-body centers of the plant, you can then directly through the plant access their dimension.
Okay, great.
So if you astrally travel into it, it will be more vivid. However, we will also show you ways of interaction that are, let's just say, more relevant to your middle world, your physical reality. So if you don't prefer to astral travel, you don't have to. You can still interact.
So if I understand this correctly, and I'll probably get better understanding when we go through the exercise, if I were able to go astral projection into what I'm seeing, the frequency of this being that is gorgeous, going in and out of light frequency, and we're sort of playing, if I'm just able to go out of my body, we would have a deeper connection.
Yes, you would experience it in a much more visceral way, in a much more visual way as well. It might seem as if you're leaving your body, but really all you're doing is imagining you're leaving your body, and that creates a shift in your frequency so you can experience yourself as being out of your body, but in reality, you're using your body and your physical brain to create the experience. So you're not really going out of body in the way you think. You're more just shifting the frequency of your consciousness so you can perceive other dimensions and realities very viscerally, so it feels like you're out of body.
Okay. Oh, that is so wonderful. Thank you so much. I so appreciate you. Thank
Okay, so
you.
we appreciate you as well. We thank you for your question.
Next is Jeremy Richardson. Please unmute yourself and ask your question.
Hi, Ryok. Nice to talk to you.
And a pleasure to speak with you in this way as well.
Cool. So I was curious, I have a question about an experience I had yesterday. So I was drumming here on the beach on the big island of Hawaii, and I kind of found this beat that kind of put me into this meditative state where I felt my heart opening and kind of connecting with the land. And I could feel kind of the beat connecting to like different sacred sites on the island and even the spirits of the land and maybe like ancestors of the land. And I also kind of, it took me to kind of a vision of a future version of me that was on the island, kind of having built a community, and it was actually playing the same beat, you know, at some point in the future. I was wondering if you could expand on what this experience was and like what that kind of resonance or beat was that I found.
Yes. Understand, as you know, everything vibrates at a particular frequency. And when you are playing the drum, you're pulsating, you're emanating different frequencies. You're creating the idea of a very overt tone that is vibrated again and again and again and again and again in a certain rhythmic pattern. And the idea is the frequencies and vibrations of the land will begin to resonate with the vibrations of your drum, and your drum with the land. They'll begin to sync up with one another. And this information is then vibrated throughout your body. So it allows for you to, in a sense, dissolve yourself in a way that enables you to experience yourself as the island, the energy centers, the other beings. And it's because you're using the drum to resonate with all of this. And when you go into those deep states of oneness, you begin to enter into a state of being that's very similar to what you consider to be the point of view of the higher self. And from here, different downloads, different symbols, different facets of information can be given to you because you have aligned in such a way where the higher self's perspective then becomes perceivable to you.
Got it. Beautiful. Thank you.
Yes, of course.
Next in line is Richard Anens. Please unmute yourself.
Hello, friends. Do you hear me?
Yes, we are able to hear you. We are able to hear you.
Wonderful. Just to quickly share a quick story, I also got just back from an ayahuasca retreat. I was translating there, and what a coincidence that I was the lucky one to win the free ticket today. That was very lovely. Yeah, this whole time I was thinking which question to ask, and I kind of ended up on asking you which plant could assist in balancing and harmonizing the sexual part of my being.
All right. There are quite a few plants that can be used. We have already suggested to another person the idea of the rose, but this plant can be used because it opens up the heart, which can allow for the idea of a loving relationship to be formed between your consciousness and the sexual dimensions of your consciousness. So the rose can be used. In addition to this, any type of fruit that is citrus in nature can be used. In particular, think of fruits that are very, very, very juicy. These types of fruits. So this might be something like mango. It might be something like an orange. Any type of very, very juicy fruit can also really balance this center, because this center that you call the sacral center corresponds with different elements that relate to the idea of water, but also the qualities of sweetness. So fruit can bring energies into this center that can allow for it to be, let's just say, more balanced and nourished. And when the center is balanced and nourished, it then becomes a tool that you can use in your experience of physical reality to increase your creative perceptions, your imagination, as well as your ability to engage in sensual pleasure and experiences, experiences that relate to beauty and what you might consider to be enjoyment. When this center is open and is healthy, those types of qualities can be more powerfully accessible to you. So those are certain plants that you can work with.
Wonderful. That makes so much sense because I've been kind of, I wouldn't say battling, but yeah, like craving a lot of sugar and trying not to eat too many processed sugars, but it isn't as easy as just saying I won't eat any more. And fruits obviously would be the better choice if I'm craving something sweet.
Absolutely. And you may find once you begin to really give yourself that natural form of sugar through the fruit, the cravings may begin to dissipate. Because again, it's likely that center reaching out for nourishment, and old programs related to things like junk food, processed food are simply being activated because they are oftentimes connected to similar feelings within the body.
Okay, so fruits, and actually this brings my mind to another question about, for example, to help teeth regrow or to rebuild if they have cavities, what kind of nourishment or nutrition or plants or substances could help with this?
What you understand is neem. The neem plant can be used.
Which part of it?
Well, understand the bark can be used. In particular, it can actually be chewed.
Yeah.
And again, this is something that we would encourage you to look into because it is somewhat, let's just say, toxic. So just be mindful on how you're doing it. But the bark can be utilized. Some individuals utilize the leaves, other people the seeds, but we would encourage you thoroughly investigate this before consuming it or working with it. But this can be used to, let's just say, create a better microbiome within the mouth, a better bacterial balance within the mouth. So ones that are, let's just say, negative or harmful towards teeth can be removed through the idea of the chemicals present within the neem, and also through the idea of the energy that the neem elementally brings into the mouth.
Okay, so the source of this problem, like having cavities in teeth, this comes from an imbalance in the microbiome in the mouth.
Yes, yes, exactly. And of course, diet plays a large role here because if you are eating things that are unhealthy for you, this attracts in bacteria that are not healthy for you.
Right.
So the imbalance comes primarily from diet. However, when those things are removed and when proper energies are then brought back into the body, the idea is those types of bacteria then won't be attracted to your mouth in any way. So you'll find the teeth then have an opportunity to regrow. Different herbs like horsetail, nettle, these types of plants can be used to remineralize the bones and the teeth.
Wonderful. Perfect. Yes, thank you. You answered everything.
All right.
And our last participant would be Emmanuel Imbert. You can unmute yourself.
Hello, Ryok.
Greetings, and how are you?
Good, thank you. My question is, how did humans lose their ability to synthesize vitamin C? And how can we re-enable our ability to synthesize vitamin C? And do the Sasani have this ability?
Please repeat the last part of the question.
Do the Sasani have the ability in their bodies to synthesize vitamin C that they need?
Well, understand what you consider to be vitamins are simply one unit of measurement that you correspond with the idea of health. But ultimately, The vitamins are a side effect. The minerals are a side effect. The proteins are a side effect of energies within you that resonate with the frequencies that you call health. And then these types of compounds are then attracted to your bodies as a side effect of that alignment. And you actually attract to you different foods and different types of compounds that match up and mirror the requirements that your body may have physically for states of health. But it's the energy of health that actually calls those things forth. As you become less physical in nature, you become less dependent on the idea of physical things for nourishment. Therefore, different foods are no longer required. And as a result, different vitamins and minerals are no longer required for the body to be in a state of health. So we do not produce vitamin C within us because we don't really operate on the same playing field that utilizes vitamins and minerals in the same way that your species uses, that your species does. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
All right. So understand, we do have, if you were to analyze us in a laboratory, different types of compounds within us that translate as vitamins and minerals, but it's not as if we're dependent on those things at all. Their presence is just really there based on an energetic reflection. It is our very energy itself that calls forth whatever substances are needed. But really, it's the energy that does the aligning. The compounds that are drawn in are just a reflective side effect of this. Whereas on Earth, many of you believe you need these things. You believe you need these types of nourishment in order to thrive. So vitamins and minerals play a much bigger role on Earth for many of you, but it's really the energy that calls forth the elements that you require from your foods. Because understand, too much of certain elements can create imbalance, and as you know, too little can create imbalance. So staying in a state of passion, and love, and joy will naturally allow for you to attract in the proper proportions the different types of compounds you may need. In relationship to the idea of the human body not being able to produce endogenous vitamin C, understand that just as we are not really dependent on physical things for the idea of our nourishment and well-being, at a certain point in your species history, you are all the same. Your species was at a certain point breatharian in nature. Your species lived off of energy, quite literally. But as denser frequencies of consciousness began to incarnate into your species, and as certain things were forgotten, the idea is that the breatharian quality was forgotten, and your species then became much more dependent on the idea of food and physical forms of nourishment in order to thrive. So it's not that your species was producing vitamin C at a certain point. Your species didn't really require it at a certain point because you were operating on a level that was energetic. It wasn't really physical in that way. But at a certain point in your species evolution, because your species became more physical, became denser in nature, physical forms of nourishment were then required, vitamin C then being one of them, because you're operating in a more physical way than the most ancient of your ancestors.
Great, thank you.
Yes, you are quite welcome.
And that's it for the Q&A.
All right, we thank you all for your exciting questions, and we will now move into the meditation aspect of this transmission. Now, if you wish, you can work with the physical plant. If you have a physical plant nearby, by all means, place yourself around the plant. If you do not have a physical plant near you, that's all right. We will lead you all through the idea of going into more of a visionary state so you can connect with the plant of your choosing whether or not it's physically near you. We would encourage you, select a plant that you prefer to work with. If you do not know really any plants, and no plant seems to call to you, just conceptualize the idea of a plant. It's fine. Just use it as a symbol. But if you have a specific plant in mind, absolutely use it. It can be a fungi, it can be a cactus, it can be a flower, it can be a tree, it can be a bush. It's all right, whatever you prefer. Become aware of your heart center. And inhale green light into your heart center, forming a sphere. Inhale. Hold. See this green light in the heart center getting bright. And as you exhale, see a plant of your choosing manifest before you. Inhale into the heart center, green light once more. Hold and see this green light glow. And exhale it into the plant. See the plant growing in size, getting stronger, getting more powerful as you nourish it. Inhaling into your heart center once more with green light. Hold, seeing the light grow and glow. Exhale into the plant, seeing the plant grow in size, growing in power and in density. Inhale white light into your heart center. Hold, seeing the white light glow. And exhale, seeing the out-of-body chakra forming above the plant. Inhaling into your heart center once more. Hold, seeing white light glowing in your heart. And as you exhale, see the lower out-of-body chakra form beneath the plant. Inhale white light once more into your heart center. Hold. And as you exhale, see an aura forming around the plant. Now, the idea is to become aware of whatever level of the plant you wish to work with. If you wish to understand the nature of the plant, some of its elemental connections, some of its, you could say, correspondences, its frequency, the idea is to work with the auric layer. If you wish to access the upper world through the plant, the idea is to work with the upper out-of-body center. And of course, if you wish to work with the lower world, work with the lower out-of-body center. To begin, we will work with the aura. Inhale, white light into your heart center. Hold, extend your hands in front of you, palms facing the plant. And as you exhale, see tubes of white light extending down your arms, out your hands, and connecting into the aura of the plant. Like you are plugging into the plant's aura. Inhale into your heart center. Hold. Place your intention into the heart center, whatever it may be, whatever information you prefer to receive, place that into the heart center, and exhale. See light go down your arms, through the cords, into the aura of the plant. And now to begin to read the energy. Inhale from the aura of the plant, through the cords, through the hands, down the arms, back to your heart center. Pull the energy back into your heart. Inhale, draw the energy in. Hold in the heart center. Exhale into your heart center. And just let go and feel. Let go and notice. Perhaps you notice feelings. Perhaps you feel a certain energy, like a thermal quality. Perhaps pictures come to you. Perhaps you hear sounds. Just pay attention and notice for a moment. Not looking for anything, just noticing. Breathing and feeling. We're going to now begin to work with the upper center and reading this center. Inhale again into your heart, white light into the heart center. Inhale. Hold. And as you exhale again, see tubes, cords come down your arms, out your hands, into the upper out of body center of the plant. Seeing it plug in. Inhale and pull the energy from the upper center down the tubes, through the arms, back into your heart center. Hold. And exhale into the heart center. And again, just let go and begin to perceive, begin to notice feelings, images, emotions, sounds. Not looking for anything in particular, just staying open to whatever comes. And inhaling white light into the heart once more. Hold, seeing the light grow. As we exhale, exhale again, cords or tubes from the heart, down the arms, through the hands, into the lower center. Inhale light from this lower center, through the cords, through the hands, through the arms, back into the heart. Exhale into the heart. And just feel. Stay open. You may notice feelings. You may receive images. You may hear sounds. We're now going to connect to the heart of the plant. Inhale once more, a white light into your heart center. Hold the breath. And as you exhale, see in the center of the plant's body an energy center forming, another chakra. We are going to use this as a symbol for the heart center. Inhale again into the heart center of yourself. Hold, seeing white light glowing. And as you exhale, exhale down the arms, through the palms, extend cords into the heart center of the plant. And then inhale from the heart center of the plant, down your arms, back into your own heart center, pulling the energy. And take a moment to feel. It is the heart of the plant that shares with you music. If you're able to, as you feel, as you sense, become aware of your own heartbeat. As you feel the energy, place a gentle awareness on your heartbeat. Begin to perceive this beat as a drum. You can even picture a drum. Hear it as a drum, psychically. And as you remain open in this space, allow for other sounds to reach you. Imagine a song is forming with your heartbeat as the drum. And listen to the sounds that come, that expresses the other instruments and aspects of the song. And just listen and allow. You can repeat this exercise whenever you wish, and you will find the plant will communicate more and more and more to you. For time's sake, we are unable to astrally voyage into these centers. However, this is the first step. So remember, As you become more familiar with the plant, as you work with its centers, as you read it more and more and more, you will then understand more contextually the nature of the corresponding realms. The idea is to then go about your astral projection practices in a way that allow for you to use those upper and lower centers as gateways, as doorways. We encourage you, each experience that you have with the plant, write it down and document, especially if you are perceiving music. We would encourage you, hum the melody, record yourself, so you can really capture the song. The songs have incredible use and incredible power behind them, and you can use them for many purposes, for shifting your own consciousness, for opening portals, and creating multidimensional effects in your realities. The key really is the melody that you perceive. So have fun with this. Allow for yourselves to take your hands and clap them together. Rub your hands together so they are nice and warm. And just pat your head, rub your head, brush your hair to integrate yourself back into the physical reality experience. And when you are ready, allow for yourselves to open your eyes and return to the space. We thank you all so much for this exciting co-creative interaction, this day of your time. And as always, our species, unconditional love, joy, and appreciation to each and every single one of you. Good day.
Hi, Tyler. Welcome back.
Thank you. Thank you, Yara. Oh, man. Wow. I hope you all had a good time. And it was a lot of fun for me. Yahira and Marcia, I appreciate you both so much. Thank you for hosting this event and for helping me to create such a wonderful space. I really appreciate you both.
Yes, thank you for having me, as always.
Thank you both and everyone.
Yeah, absolutely. And everybody that came today, again, thank you so much. This was so fun to do, and I hope you got a lot out of this. You know, I hope this was informative and expansive. So we will see you next time. And as I had said before, I'll be sending these recordings out. And also, too, I just want to give just a quick medical disclaimer. Before you ever consume a plant or use a plant, make sure it is safe for human consumption, and make sure it doesn't interfere with any medication or supplements that you might be on, because plants do contain chemicals, and it's important to make sure it's balanced for your body. So always read up on toxicity and always make sure that it's appropriate for you, because I'm not an MD. I can't give medical advice. So always make sure if you use these plants in a way where you're ingesting them or medically using them, really make sure that that's safe. Talk to whatever professionals you got to talk to. So just want to give that quick disclaimer there just to keep everybody well informed. But you all are so amazing, and I really appreciate this fantastic time. These events are so fun, and time seriously bends every time I go in there, you know? So I really love this experience of kind of coming out and feeling like only 20 minutes have passed. You know, when I'm in it, it's like a blur. When I come out, it feels like we just started, you know, so a lot of fun. But I'll be sending you all this recording this evening, so stay tuned for that. And I will see you all soon. Have a beautiful rest of your day.
Thank you. See you guys.
Bye-bye, everybody.
Hi, everybody.
Oh, Yahira, I'll stay on too. I'm just gonna take a moment to sort of reground and get situated, but I'll be here in like 3 minutes.
Okay, awesome. I gave you the host back.
How are you feeling?